During my PhD in organizational psychology, I studied a concept called the point of no return. The point of no return is the moment when you stop avoiding what you fear and you fully commit to and approach what you want. Point of no return is a phenomenal concept. It reflects a full-on shift. Every time you have a moment of commitment and decision, it's a point of no return. Every time you get out of bed, that was a point of no return. You're no longer hopping back in bed. Every time you do some form of action, it's a point of no return. And so the point is that you get to a place of point of no return in who you are and what you're committed to. And once you hit that point of no return, you're no longer operating out of fear. You're no longer operating out of avoidance. You're not avoiding the hard truths. You're not avoiding hard conversations. You're not avoiding failure. Having a fixed mindset means that you're avoiding failure. It means that you're afraid of failure. It means you're afraid of feedback. It means you're afraid of difficulty. You're avoiding difficulty. You're avoiding hard truths. All progress starts by telling the truth. And so once you cross that point of no return, you are free. That is the essence of freedom. If you are still avoiding fears, that means that the fear has control over you, and thus you are imprisoned by the fear. And so once you cross the point of no return where you're in a full approach mode, where you're living intrinsically, where you're living freely, then you are free. You are no longer editing yourself. You're no longer tossing back and forth. You're no longer battling between your future and your present self. Instead, you're in full flow. You're operating in flow, you're operating in freedom, you're operating by choice, you're operating by commitment, and everything becomes transformational. Everything becomes a joy, and you actually turn every experience to your gain. You turn every experience into massive momentum. And so once you pass that point of no return, you start surging, because now your attention is focused on what you want, and you're very comfortable going in that direction, and you're not overly taking one step forward and one step back. You're not editing yourself. And so what happens is you get massive momentum. Your commitment leads to massive momentum. And as you're surging in momentum, then you start literally creating ridiculous results. There's a great quote in the book, As a Man Thinketh, by James Allen. James Allen said, "You do not attract what you want, but who you are." And once you've gone past that point of no return where you've clicked into your future self and you're literally moving freely towards your future self and transforming every experience along the way into a gain. You're no longer afraid of failure. You're quickly converting every experience into gains. You're in full-on action mode. Literally, think about who you're being. In every situation you're in, you're being someone. You have to be, then do, then have. And whoever you're being is going to generate what you do and ultimately what you have. And so if you're being your future self because you've passed the point of no return and you're operating in freedom, you're operating based on want, not on fear or not on perceived need. You're moving in approach mode rather than avoid mode, then you are quite literally being your future self. That's what's the key, is that you've shifted and clicked from a point of no return towards pure freedom, towards pure intrinsic motivation, towards pure action mode. And so then you weed out all your past self behaviors, and because you're being your future self, you quickly start attracting all sorts of incredible things. This is what momentum does. Momentum is an insane force that actually is also an attractor. And you start creating and attracting a lot of nonlinear situations. All of a sudden, because you're in momentum, because you're being your future self, you're attracting incredible things towards you, and you are an attractor. And so I would invite you to look at your life. There's a great quote in the book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. In that book, they say that commitment is a statement of what is. You can know what you're committed to by looking at your life, by looking at your results. We are all committed. We are all producing results. The result is the proof of the commitment. So if you look at your life, you have to ask, are you attracting the situations, the people you want? And in fact, I think it's really important that you ask yourself, are you attracting even nonlinear situations? When I say nonlinear, what I mean is that you may be moving in this direction, but you might be attracting stuff from over here that's seemingly unrelated, because when you're moving powerfully towards your future self and when you're in a state of commitment and action, then you're bringing all sorts of stuff to you because of who you are and who you're being. You become a massive attractor, and you also repel what you don't want. And so you want to be that person where you've crossed the point of no return. You're in a state of action. You're in a state of freedom, and you're generating massive momentum, and you're attracting incredible situations and opportunities to you. It's very much in alignment with just taking action and taking steps. The more at bats you take, the more comes back at you, and very non-predictable, incredible results come. And so I ask of you, how much momentum do you have in your life? How much are you being pulled towards your future self? Psychologists often break motivation into pull motivation or push motivation. If you have to push yourself, that means you're operating by willpower, and it's actually a battle between your present and your future self, and you're still mostly operating as your present self, and you're pushing against your future self because it's not something you ultimately want to do. Instead of pushing towards your future, you actually want to be pulled by your future. And when you're being pulled by your future, then you're just operating based on freedom and moving in the direction you want to go, and you're literally being pulled. You've got so much momentum, so much energy, so much pull, and things become easy, and you stop overly thinking. You get to a place where you're just operating in flow. This is where I'm at right now, where I'm filming these videos. I'm just operating in flow, but flow comes by first making the commitment, by crossing the point of no return, by choosing a state of freedom, by no longer editing yourself and no longer worrying about the repercussions. You're in flow because you're not overthinking. This is what happens when you're in the zone. This is what happens when basketball players get into rhythm, is they stop overly thinking about every move, and they just ultimately get into the place of flow, freedom, choice, opportunity. And they're just full on and clicked in. They've let go of the fear. They've let go of the worries of other people. They've let go of their past. They've let go of everything. They're just fully zoned in, being pulled by their future self, accepting their future self. Faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. Pure commitment, pure joy, pure flow. How much momentum do you have in your life right now? What are you attracting? Commitment is a statement of what is. You can know what you're committed to by looking at your life. You can also know which direction you're going by looking at which direction your momentum is going. Is your momentum going towards your current self, your past self, or your future self? If your momentum is being pulled, and if you're generating all sorts of energy in the direction you want to go, then you're becoming limitless and unstoppable. And so are you your future self, and are you being pulled by your future self? Are you being your future self, and are you attracting things at the level of your future self? Or are you still committed to your current self? And are you creating, honestly, negative momentum because it's very difficult to have momentum when you're taking a step forward and a step back because there's an argument going on between you, a conflict. Once you start really moving in the right direction, the momentum picks up very quickly, and the momentum leads to more momentum. It's a positive, virtuous cycle. What are you attracting? How much momentum do you have? Are you being pulled by your future self, or are you pushing against yourself because you're conflicted? Pushing against yourself means there's not much momentum because you're honestly just spinning yourself in circles. Cross the point of no return, get committed, and choose freedom. The freedom to be in flow, the freedom to find joy, the freedom to not over-edit, the freedom to not overthink. Get to a place where you're not overthinking things. You're just operating based on instinct, not impulse. People who are operating based on impulse will often be reactive to the environment, to the situation, and they will succumb to what is comfortable in the moment. Instead, operate on instinct, operate on flow, operate on freedom, operate on choice, operate in a state of pure commitment and joy. I hope this helps you become your future self. Please pass that point of no return. You do not attract what you want, but who you are. Once you get fully committed, once you cross that point of no return, you wipe away the past self. You have full momentum, full freedom, full flow, and you don't have to overthink it. You just start attracting and creating the situations you want, and you get pulled forward by your future self. Talk to you soon. Dr. Benjamin Hardy here. See you later.